Guess who rolled out of bed this morning and didn't feel like waking up? This guy. I don't even know what my hair is doing today. Anyway, hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to one of our weekly Komi Can't Communicate discussion videos. Sorry it's a bit late. I'll be better next time. But today we're going to be talking all about episode 2. It's just a childhood friend plus more. But before we get to the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all. Let all of AnyTube know that you're here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this week's episode, video, thing, whatever. Not gonna lie, I'm tired. And I'm a little bit cranky. And so because of that, we're gonna talk about the thing that everybody seemingly wanted to talk about last week, and I didn't really notice until people pointed it out. And that is, oh my god, those subtitles. Those subtitles are pretty rough. Those, yeah. Sorry while I adjust my mic, but those subtitles are really rough. I didn't notice it the first time because I was mostly just sort of focused on like what was being said. I didn't really realize that most of the things in the background weren't actually being subtitled. And the thing that kills me, right, is I could have forgiven this if this was coming out weekly, and even then, not really. Because the thing is, Crunchyroll would have just done a better job. Funimation probably would have done a better job. Let that sink in. That Funimation probably would have done a better job at subtitling this. That is saying something. Because the thing is, and this is the real harsh truth here, Netflix, is that you had an additional 3 weeks. You had an additional 3 weeks, and you still gave us bad subtitling when you had 3 extra weeks to give that subtitler some time. So something tells me something. Like, something has to be up, because Crunchyroll gets this shit up the same day. You know what I'm saying? Like an hour later. You had 3 weeks to get them started on each episode. Komi is a lot to subtitle. Don't think that I don't notice that, right? Like, I know that. But when you're Netflix and your subtitles are worse than Crunchyroll, which, no offense to Crunchyroll, but like a much smaller team, a much smaller company, you don't see the issue there? That seems like an issue to me. So I just want everyone to know that, yes, I am acknowledging that I know, okay? I know about the subtitling thing. I know. I'm not going to hold it against the show, because the show is good. So I'm not going to hold it against the show. But yes, I am aware that fan subbers are apparently doing a better job at translating Komi Can't Communicate, which is great, right? But I'm going to be waiting on the official Netflix release, because unfortunately, that's when most people are going to be watching it. And since I'm a content creator, I'm stuck with watching it with most people. So I think the only time I ever broke that rule was for Beastars, and that's because Netflix was being stupid and not releasing it weekly. Because Netflix is now releasing it weekly, I'm stuck. It's the same thing with JoJo's when JoJo's eventually comes out. And the same thing with Blue Period as well. You know, like, I'm just stuck with Netflix. Here we are, stuck together. Stuck in the middle with you. A multi-million-dollar company. Anyway, but enough about that. Let's talk about the episode, because honestly, this episode's really good. By the way, I didn't talk about this last week because I wasn't sure if it was the OP or the ED. I don't know why I thought it was the ED, but the OP slaps. The OP is such a bop, and I love like the lonely vibe that the OP has, right? Because it still makes sense. Like when you see Komi sort of sitting in that like lake thing, she's in this sort of like it sort of looks like one of the stages in Tekken where it's just sort of like endless, right? It's just endless sea. Right, and it's just Komi there sitting in the chair alone, and then Tadano walks up because that ship is real, but it's just Komi sitting in the middle of the sea. It really shows you how sort of like, while yes, she herself is very serene and pretty, like the sea, like the water she's standing on, or sitting on, I guess, it's still lonely, right? And there's like this lonely vibe to the OP, but it's still sort of upbeat as we see the different characters trying their best to entertain and be there for Komi. Like, you actually see this play out during the OP, and I think it's a really good OP. Like, especially like an OP that is just meant to serve as sort of like not only the hype up for an episode of the show, but also trying to get you into the world of Komi and like get you to understand these characters. It does a phenomenal job. So I just had to talk about the OP just very quickly. Just had to talk about the OP very quickly before getting into the episode itself. And I do want to stress that there is a character in the show who I think is pure trash, but some people might like. Maybe you have trash taste. Podcast. Anyway, but yeah, maybe you have trash taste and you like this character. So if you like this character, I apologize. But Yamai. Yeah, so we get introduced to Yamai this week, very, very briefly. And essentially Yamai is like the #1 Komi fan, yet hates our boy Tadano, even though Tadano spends the most time. You know what this reminded me of? As a Fruba fan, this reminded me of the Yuki fan club a little bit, which is good and bad, because the thing with the Yuki fan club is that ultimately by the end of the show, you really like the Yuki fan club. But at the same time, the Yuki fan club is very annoying at the beginning. And Yamai is giving me big Yuki fan club vibes, except worse. So I'm gonna just call it like I see it and say that Yamai's kind of trash. You call my son trash, I in turn call you trash. So I just calls it like I see it. Yamai is trash, because I'm sorry, you ain't gonna speak to my boy Tadano like that. I might be already attached to Tadano. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Tadano's already my boy. You ain't gonna speak to my boy like that. So Yamai can... I don't feel bad saying that. If you like Yamai, you mind maybe taking yourself to a different content creator to watch, because I ain't a fan. Unless you're gonna be civil, in which case, like, yeah. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because they're not real people. But, like, still, you know what I mean. If you like Yamai, you mind heading off. But don't, actually. Continue watching the video, because I need the view. But and also like the video, I'd appreciate it. But, yeah, it's not the only character that we get introduced to this week, of course. The big character that we get introduced to this week is Najimi, Osuna, the childhood friend to Tadano, and essentially everybody. Najimi is actually legitimately a very fun character. I love their design. Their design is sort of this, like, almost like lavender hair with, like, brown eyes, and their hair sort of looks like a beetle. So the best way I could describe it is that their hair is sort of like beetle-like, right? To me, it's interesting, right? It's an interesting design because when I see it, what I'm thinking is that like the lavender hair, it's sort of like lavender, very purpley, like a shade of purple. Again, sort of mysterious, right? But I don't think that I think the mysterious nature of Najimi is just like I don't want to say their gender, but like it kind of is, right? There's a lot of like mystery surrounding Najimi. Like you're not sure if they're a guy or a gal. If they're sincere or insincere, right? Like it's a tricky thing going on with Najimi, right? Najimi has a lot of mystery surrounding the character, and not like this mysterious, dark, deep mystery that we must solve, but like no, just this sort of like finding out about the character, right? Like the character has a lot of secrets that they're keeping to themselves, right? Because they don't need to share that kind of thing. That's their business, right? So I like that they're keeping that sort of mystery with Najimi. And you can see that in the lavender hair. Also, the fact that the hair is shaped like a beetle is giving me the vibe that maybe Najimi is playing things a little close to the chest, you know? Like, Najimi's not really letting people in. The beetle hair sort of reminded me of the beetle shell, right? Like, the beetle shell sort of protects it, right? So Najimi is protecting themselves, surrounding themselves with all these childhood friends, right? So these friends are serving as almost sort of like protection for Najimi, right? And that's sort of like the vibe I get, that Najimi likes to put up sort of a shell, right? Like, don't like lets you get close, or at least thinks you're getting close, but you're not actually that close, right? And even like the hair has like the antenna at the end, like every other freaking anime character, but like especially like most protagonists, especially if you're a Danganronpa protagonist, you have like the little antenna hair, but it just sort of fits the whole beetle thing. And the brown eyes are usually a good indicator that the person is quite dependable. And that is true, again, for Najimi, right? Like, they are definitely, again, a bit mysterious, right? They kind of, they sort of play both sides. It's sort of like a Loki type character, but at the end of the day, you can rely on Najimi. And I feel like that's the case from what we see, right? So again, I think design-wise, this is a super sick design. If I might do a design time on Najimi, it's just a really super sick design. I was really, really impressed by it, and I really enjoyed it. Also, I will say, it's cool to have a character of uncertain gender. The show even says, like, uncertain gender at one point. And that's funny, right? Because when Tadano knew Najimi, they were like, wait, why are you wearing a skirt? And Najimi's like, what are you talking about? And Tadano's like, what are you talking about? It's like, what is this? It's cool. I like it. I like that there's a character with uncertain gender. It just feels more inclusive, right? It's just, like, nice. And it didn't feel like they did it for the sake of being inclusive. Because I'm not gonna lie, that's annoying, right? Like, when people, like, there's a difference, right, between inclusion, because it doesn't feel like it's inclusion for the sake of including things, because a lot of big companies do that. Especially a lot of Western cartoons do that, which is not great. Where they just shove in different characters because they're like, look how inclusive we are. You should watch our show because we are inclusive, right? Like, it's not doing that. Like, Komi Can't Communicate's not playing that game. They're just sort of being like, hey, this is Najimi. Najimi doesn't really have a gender. Anyway, moving on, because that's not the point of their character, right? Najimi's character is not that they're sort of androgynous. The point of their character is that they're sort of this, like, socialite who is sort of not so much insecure, but, like, the socialite who is, like, not really letting people in despite how social they are. That is the point of Najimi's character, and I really dig that. I like that they have this character for the sake of inclusion, right? Who maybe somebody can relate to Najimi, but at the same time, that's not the point of their character, because I really can't stand when companies do that with this sort of, like, fake wokeness, you know? Like, I don't like that. Like, if you're gonna include characters, do it properly. You know what I mean? Like, if like, as an example, as an ace person, I would like to see more ace people in fiction, but if you just shove an ace person in there to be like, look, they're ace, like, then I don't really like that as much, right? Like, I hear, like, BoJack Horseman has an ace person in there, and his aceness is part of his character, but it's not something that he knows right away, and it's not the purpose of his character. He has other purposes to his character. That kind of stuff, I like. I haven't seen BoJack Horseman, so I don't know if that's exactly true. But, yeah, I like the way that they handled Najimi a lot. And if there is anybody who is sort of, like, gender fluid, do let me know your opinions on that. But yeah, also Najimi has a bit of a funny past with Komi, and I will say that Najimi being the second friend makes a lot of sense to me. Like, the idea that it would be somebody who previously knew Najimi and is sort of a socialite character, I think having that is good. Najimi's actually sort of like the perfect friend, or second friend, to have introduced to Komi, right? Because with Najimi, you not only get this sort of socialite character who can bring out a lot of the chatty nature of the group, right? Because now you have three members of the group. You have Tadano, who's trying to help Komi. You have Komi, who is adorable and we love her, but she can't do much right now. And then you have Najimi, who's sort of the mouthpiece for the group now. Just this person who can sort of chit-chat their way out of a situation. And that, I don't know. I like that dynamic. I think it makes sense. But also having somebody who previously felt sort of, like, wronged by Komi, like, in the sense that Komi couldn't communicate to them, and that made them feel uncomfortable. Like, having Najimi be that person makes sense, right? Like, as the second friend, I think it makes just a lot of sense. And Najimi is not afraid to sort of nudge Komi into certain situations, right? Like, after the big moment where Komi tries to help, Komi tries to help Najimi with that guy, and the guy thinks that Komi's trying to kill her. Like, after that, they become, like, really tight friends, and it's super sweet, right? But at the same time, you see, like, that Najimi's not afraid to nudge Komi into becoming chatty, right? Like, because Najimi says, like, hey, I need you to go get me this, like, blah 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 blah, blah latte, right, from Standbucks instead of Starbucks. Standbucks, which does make me think of, like, JoJo's, which is, like, rad, by the way. But, like, it does make me think of JoJo's, like, this is my Standbucks, right? Like, I love that idea. But Najimi forces Komi to go to Standbucks and order this latte for them, which had, like, a crazy list of ingredients, right? And Komi is obviously mortified, doesn't want to do it. And the barista, to their credit, does their best, like, and attempts to guess what it is that Komi wants, but it's, like, way off. like it's, like, way off. But Komi does her best. And by the way, I now want to go to Starbucks really bad because I like Starbucks. But yeah, seeing Komi like attempt to go to Standbucks and get the right latte was insanely funny. Like very, very funny scene. I think it was between that or the scene with the guy trying to get with Najimi. Like those two were like the two funniest scenes because Komi like threatening to kill the guy was really funny, and then Komi like attempting to get this latte, and then the barista doing their best was just really, really friggin' funny. And honestly painfully relatable. There's times where where I'm at Starbucks and I don't have the heart to be like, I would like this, and I always screw it up. Like they're always just like, what size? I'm like, size? Oh, like so I know that feeling. I know what Komi is talking about. But yeah, like well, thinking about Komi don't talk. But yeah, that whole scene is great, and I love the fact that Najimi and Tadano feel really bad about it after. Like they actually feel like really bad about putting her in that position, and then Komi gets like all like salty about it, but it's super cute. Such a good scene. Honestly, Najimi is definitely like the highlight of the episode, which is funny because, you know, it's called Komi Can't Communicate, and Komi and Tadano are great, right? Tadano and Komi probably ship of the season. I don't even think that's up for debate. Like, I think Komi and Tadano are just ship of the season. I just love those two. And he really seems like he's gonna go above and beyond for Komi. Like, he gets like completely rejected by trash queen Yamai, and then proceeds to still ask others to be Komi's friend, but everybody just keeps rejecting him. But he's still willing to put himself through that because he really likes Komi and he wants to help her out. And we do get the idea that I think he is into her, because when asked by Najimi, he doesn't say no, he doesn't like her. He says, no, she's out of my league. So it's clear he likes her, right? He's definitely interested, but he feels as though she's out of his league. And to be fair, maybe, but Tadano's great. But yeah, Komi's pretty great as well. But yeah, Komi's great, Tadano's great. I love those two together. But I do think that Najimi really is like the highlight of the episode. They're just really friggin' great, super funny character, and I can't wait to see more from them. I assume the rest of the series is going to be just like a friend a week. I could be wrong. So Komi manga fans, do let me know in the comments if I am right or wrong on that. If it's like a friend a week, or if it's going to be like, because it's 100 friends, so I have to assume it's like a friend a week. But I could be wrong, so do let me know in the comments without spoiling too much, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go sleep some more. Outro! And that's going to do it for today's video, everybody. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and set notifications to all. Let all of AniTube know that you're here. And of course, before we go, as always, I have to give a big thank you to my wonderful masters who help support this endeavor. And of course, I want to give a special thank you to the Masters of Masters who help support us just that little bit more. And I have to give a big thank you to Izevi, Asaki VT, Elizabeth Just Elizabeth, JCran23, Jeremy P, Matt87 Eagle, Shadow Creative, Shiorans, Stephen G, Stevie W, Trapmaster, and Tristan G. Thank you all so much for being so freaking wonderful. I appreciate it. And if you want to hear your name shouted out at the end of these videos, or you want to see your name scrolling past the screen, go ahead and check out the link in the description to our Patreon page, or you can hit that join button right beside the sub button. And that also gets you a badge next to your name as well in the comments if you want people to know how cool you are. But yeah, I'd sincerely appreciate it. It is a great way to help this channel and keep videos coming out. I really appreciate it, everyone. And that is it for me. So you guys take care of yourselves, and of course, do clean your room. It's filthy.